Friends, when I look back in my young childhood days, I recall the old black and white cowboy movies. Now, I don't know if there's any out there that goes that far back, like in the 50s or late 40s. But these old cowboy movies are a reflection of the Watchtower society today. What do I mean by that? Well, in these old black and white movies, there was always crooks that ran the show. Uh, they always had the boss in town. He was either a mayor or a businessman with a cigar in his mouth, and he was well respected. Yes, he was always well respected. But in the meantime, he was running a racket. He had like maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 henchmen that carried out his laws or his orders to capture somebody's ranch or get somebody's cattle or take over somebody's saloon. It was always some kind of drama that this here boss was doing. And I distinctly remember one fella who carried out these rules in every movie, and his name was Blackie. Now, Blackie was, his name was Charles King in real life. But Blackie played in many movies, but he was always a crook, see? And he always was the guy who they went to get things done. And he would get several of his friends, and they would steal other people's cattle, or they would rob a bank and meet up there in the fort in the out in the rural area. Okay, and then they would bring the money into the real boss. He would put it in his safe. All right, this safe was in his office, and all proceeds was put into that safe. See, because they looked up to him. In other words, whatever he said was spoken from God. This here leader. And this leader was well respected. And he had a load of money, and he had the people fooled. Yes, he did. Now, if you would look at that situation of all this money he put into this safe, and Blackie, his number one enforcer, was always there by his side. And Blackie was feared. And I think back to them days, I really loved those childhood days. But Blackie was the main guy in practically all these B movies. That's what they are, B movies. And Blackie, he was just as I would say. Well, I wouldn't say respected, but he was just as popular as the main player. And the main player was usually someone like the Lone Ranger, Alan Rocky Lane, or the Three Musketeers, and John Wayne, and Wild Bill Elliott, Sunset Carson, and Randolph Scott. And one of my old favorites was Hopalong Cassidy. Now, but anyway, they were always fighting against these here well-to-do, well-respected crooks. Not that the crooks were respected, but the boss was. He was well-respected, say. Okay, now what does this have to do with the Watchtower? Well, it has a lot to do with it. Symbolically, it has a lot to do in this sense. I mentioned how this here boss was well respected. Okay, well, isn't the henchmen who run the headquarters in Brooklyn, Watchtower, in the world, they're well respected. See, unless they know them like I do, or some of y'all out there who broke away from this nonsense. You know what they are. You don't respect them. But they're respected by people in the world who don't know no difference. So now, with that respect, they had built up a large sums of money. Same way the guy did back in the cowboy movie. A large amount of money. And the guy kept his money in the safe. Well, he owned ranches and farms and cattle. That's how he was. But he had plenty. Now, the Watchtower today, they also have plenty. See? But there's a situation that always happened in these old movies. When the main player, such as Hopalong Cassidy and Rocky Lane, Sunset Carson, when they would be closing in on these racketeers, what would the racketeers do? Well, the boss, if he was out somewhere with Blackie and they were like maybe drinking and partying or something like that, they knew their time was up. They knew their time was up. The main player, whether it be Hoppy or John Wayne or whoever, they were closing in on him. So the first thing they did then was head to town. Head to town. Let's get that money out of the safe. Let's get that money out of the safe and get out of here. Well, they were fleeing. They were fleeing justice because Rocky, Sunset, and Hoppy were all out there to get them. They were closing in. So they all, in all these movies, they would head back to that safe to get that money. See? Well, what does that have to do with the Watchtower? Well, it has plenty to do with it. Can we see the Watchtower today are selling Kingdom Halls? Yes, they are. They're selling branch offices, huge buildings, worth lots of money. They're selling those branches. Okay? And they're getting a lot of money for them. Because I have to give the Watchtower credit when credit is due. They maintain their property. Yes, they do. They maintain their property. Well, now we know they use the zombies to maintain it for them. We know all about that. The zombies keep their places clean for these guys in Brooklyn. They keep it all up to date. Yes, they do. See? And when you keep property up to par and well done, it brings more money when you sell it. I'll give the Watchtower credit for that, boy. They know how to make money. But anyway, today, not only are they selling Kingdom Halls, not only are they selling branch offices, they're also getting all they can through that donation box. All they can get. They got all kinds of excuses for money. There's a fund that they will use money to help people who got flooded out. Put the money in the box. Put the money in the box. Okay, the zombies put the money in the box. Okay, all that money is headed for Brooklyn. Okay, they got all this money. And being the apostates is making life miserable for the Watchtower right now, perhaps they can see the handwriting on the wall too. Because the world of mankind has internets now, and no doubt they're seeing all this on YouTube. They're seeing what these apostates are putting out. All a person in the world had to do is get a hint a cult in their neighborhood solicited, they'll go on that YouTube and check on their name. Well, that's the end of the Watchtower then. See, it's the end of them. And I think the Watchtower realizes that now, that it's only a matter of time that they're going to have to be headed to town. It might be going on now. But anyway, to clean that safe out and get the hell out of here. Well, how about the flock? Well, yeah, hell on the flock. They got to clean that safe out and get out of here. Like Blackie and his friends back in them old Western movies. They had to get out of town, but they won't take their money with them, see? A person never gives up on his money, does he? He's going to take that no matter what. But anyway, with them selling their territories, their buildings, and they got all their stock they do have, I don't know if they're cashing that in yet, but they probably don't have to do that because in their position, they can hide that, say. And it's a little difference today than it was back in Blackie's days. Now, all Blackie had and his boss was a horse and a saddlebag to put their money in and get out of town before the Wild Bill and them closes in on us. Well, now I think with the child molestation that's so rampant in the Watchtower society that this is their, we would call it the main player is after them now. It's closing in on them. It's closing in on them, see. And you only can take so much till you throw your hands up. I give up. I give up. Well, we know that the Watchtower leaders ain't going to do that easy. See, they are smart people. When it comes to money, they are smart. If I had money and I could invest anything with the Watchtower, I would do it. I would do it. Because they know how to make money. Yes, they do. They know how to make money. Anytime you can get somebody's wills and their possessions from their loved ones. Anytime you can have 8 million people putting money in donation boxes at these assemblies. Making people pay for their own building. They got this building on the week or the weekend. They pay for that building. Now they're paying again to use it. Can you imagine that? Paying for something you own. Yeah. Well, I'm going to close this talk, friends. I had to try to make it quick because that's what I'm trying to do now, to make one subject and try to drive that point home. One subject. That way it'll be fresh in your mind to know that now I have drawn the picture of back in the old Western days with Blackie and the boss, the mayor or whoever he was, how they made all their money off the people there. The farmers, the cattlemen, they made all the money on them. And then when sunset, Hoppy was closing in on, they had to get out of town, but they ain't getting out of town unless they got that money. So that money was taken out of that safe, thrown into them saddlebag, and they got out of town. See? That was the end of the movie then, see. But could it be that the Watchtower today is doing the same damn thing? Ready to get out of town with all that money. With all that money, and the main players in this case is the world of apostates. They are closing in on the Watchtower. The Watchtower knows that. That's why you don't hear them saying nothing about the apostates. The only thing they say is in their magazines, they'll run down the apostate, but that's all. They won't give no details. They won't give no details because that would be drawing publicity toward the apostates. And the subject, well, they can't buy the subject because the subject of molesting children is a subject you want to stay away from. So if they stay away from that without saying the apostates are making all this up and trying to do us in with lies, say, which we all know is a lie itself. They are doing their own selves in. Ain't nobody doing them in. They are destroying themselves with their lies. See? So I'm going to close for now, friends. And remember, if any of y'all was my age and saw the old Western movies of Blackie and the mayor or sheriff, whoever he was, that was a crook. Remember, you might be seeing the same thing today in the religious world of the Watchtower. Trying to get out of town with all that money. And you know damn well they ain't going to leave without that money. Okay? Thank you, friends. And good night and God bless you.